I'm so excited for all of you to be here, for those of you that are live, and also those who will be watching the replay. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Emma. I am an animal communicator and healer and human design guide. I really aspire to walk animals and humans back to their authentic selves. And I do that through animal communication and human design. And for today, if you have a journal or something to write with, that will be great because we're going to get into some questions and to get to do a little bit of journaling. And hopefully you will get to walk away with some direction of kind of what maybe your inner self is calling you to do next, the breadcrumb, the insights that can help you navigate whatever type of transition you may be going through or will be going through soon, because we're all going through transitions, right? There's so many different kinds of transitions, and we all go through them throughout our lives, whether they're big career changes, big life changes, moves, even smaller things like different types of foods that you eat. That's a transition for your body. And so we're going through so many. And what I have learned through the many that I have gone through, which we're going to go through, or some of them, is the more that I'm aligned to myself and who I am and understand how I'm meant to walk through this world, the not the easier necessarily, but the more effortless the transitions become. The less I'm looking outside of myself for others to make the decision, for others to validate the decision, for others to have any kind of say in the decision, that I am making it fully myself because I have that trust and that knowing that even though I don't necessarily know why, and I think there's a bald eagle now making an appearance as well, so that is so fun. That and now I've totally lost my train of thought. The animals do that to me, but that essentially when you truly understand and know who you are and how your body speaks to you, how your inner self speaks to you, how your intuition speaks to you, how you're meant to walk through the world, everything becomes a bit more effortless because there's not this second guessing that's happening. There's this deeper trust, this deeper knowing that allows us to walk through this world brighter than maybe we have before. So I grew up, just as all of us did, with conditioning. And conditioning can be something like, I grew up thinking that I was supposed to get a job and stay there for 30 years. And that life was supposed to be kind of hard until you retire. And then you get to have a lot of money when you retire, but you don't necessarily get it before then. And that in order to keep up with everybody, you need to have a lot of energy and you need to be able to be willing to do the things that other people are doing. That life is meant to be kind of hard, that life's not really meant to be effortless. And so if it is effortless, then you're doing something wrong because it's supposed to be kind of hard. And so you can't allow the effortlessness or the ease-filledness be enough or be okay, because there's this conditioning, this belief that says, no, it's supposed to be hard. So if it's not, you're doing something wrong. Instead of the belief of it's effortless and therefore I'm leaning into the things that I'm meant to be leaning into because they come so effortless to me, because they come so easy to me. These are the things I came here to give the world, to give myself. And I also had a lot of conditioning around that I needed to do a lot in order to be of help, to be of value, to be of assistance to all of those around me. And that just being wasn't necessarily helpful, but doing was helpful. And that, again, you had to put in hard work in order to get anywhere, in order to get anything that I wanted. And so I lived my life that way. I lived my life with doing all of the things and following the roadmap that others have put into place, right? The going to college and graduating and then getting a job. I went to college. I had no idea what I wanted to major in or get a degree in. And I did the thing that felt the most logical because that's what I turned to in all of the different conditioning of growing up was I can't trust myself, so I need to trust logic. And so things need to make sense. My mind needs to be on board in order to do anything. So logically, what made sense was getting a degree in business, because even though I didn't necessarily want to do business, to me, it logically made the most sense that I could apply it to anything because everything in some capacity was business. So I did that and I didn't love it. And I graduated and I got that degree, which again, like wasn't super helpful. And I ended up listening to my innate self, my body that said, you need to move. And I didn't really know why. Logically, I made the decision that, oh, I'm moving because I want to get a job with federal law enforcement, and moving to Washington, D.C. gets me that much closer to the hub of everything, and it'll make it that much faster. In reality, all of that is the opposite of the truth. Had I stayed in Portland, I would have gotten hired way faster than going to the hub where there's like thousands and thousands of applicants. So anyway, I moved and I ended up 2 years later, after lots of other kinds of transitions, small and big, getting a job with the Secret Service. And I thought, okay, this is it. Like, this is the job that I'm going to do. I grew up in law enforcement. My dad was a cop. All of our big family friends were cops. And so, I mean, on Take Your Daughter to Work Day, I went to the police station. I would see people in holding cells. I would be shown all sorts of different things. And like, that was the world I grew up in. So it makes sense that that is the road I ended up following because that's what I knew. And so I worked for the Secret Service, but I didn't feel pride in my work. I almost felt ashamed. And I was also surrounded by a lot of people who were also kind of showing up in that capacity as well. There wasn't a lot of pride in the work. There was a lot more of just like pessimism, if you will. It wasn't a great energetic space for anyone to necessarily super thrive in, especially somebody like me who can be kind of outspoken. And also part of like what's really big for me is integrity and also fairness. And there wasn't a lot of that in a lot of different ways. And so I would speak up a lot, and everyone's solution to that was, oh, well, you need to stay and get promoted and then you can change it. And I'm like, no, like I am not going to settle for staying in something. And now a blue heron. Isn't this just, we're just being wrapped up in so much nature. It's amazing. I'm not going to stay in something that feels absolutely terrible and no one's trying to fix, just in the effort of maybe I will get to fix a small part of it later on. Like, no, that is not what I'm signing up for. That is not what I want to be a part of. Like, if nobody wants to be a part of solving it, then like, I'm out, was kind of my thing. So I was like, okay, I am now going to go to Nike, and I'm going to get a job at Nike, and that's going to fix it. And in some ways it did. In a lot of ways it didn't. Nike was my real big rock bottom. It was the thing that really showed me that I had a lot of growing to do, a lot of learning to do, a lot of understanding myself. And it was there that I became really sick. It was there that I became really burnt out. I would say depressed, anxious, like all of the things really came to the surface. It's also the place where I was when I went through my Saturn return. So that also makes a lot of sense that a lot of this was coming to the surface too. And this is where I started to be like, there has to be a different way. My thinking started to shift. There has to be a different way. There's got to be something better. This can't be how life is meant to go for me. Like, I can't settle for this life feeling like this forever. And so I essentially was given an ultimatum, and I left Nike. And when I say it's like, it kind of solved a lot, was that it showed me where I needed to direct my energy, because I was so overwhelmed. I was so stressed out that I didn't know what I wanted to do in the world. I didn't know where I was meant to put my genius, where I was meant to put my time and energy and everything else. And it was through that where essentially I started to open myself up to the universe without actually understanding it at the time, and bringing experiences and opportunities to myself, which the ultimatum really was one of those things, because I wanted to leave Nike for so long. And my dad had told me at one point, you cannot leave until you have another job lined up. There goes the blue heron again. And I couldn't have another job lined up because, and now it's just perched right outside on, did any of you know that blue herons perch in trees? Because I didn't know that until I lived here. And I was like, they're with such long legs, it just didn't seem like something that would happen. Anyway, I get distracted and now the sun is coming out. Hold on. I don't need to take this screen down, but I would like to not have this in my face. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. Okay. Okay. So, and I totally lost my train of thought, but at Nike, I was able to start to see there is something different out there. Oh, my dad said I needed to have the thing. So I didn't know what it was because I was so stressed out. I was so burnt out that I couldn't tap into anything. And so that's what led to the ultimatum, and it was perfect. And so essentially I was opening myself up. I had just signed up with my first coach who was going to help me understand myself. And my first kind of task to her was like, you tell me what my purpose is. You tell me what to do and I will do it. And which is so funny because I'm also an Aries and I don't take well to people telling me what to do. And so it's so funny that I was telling so many people, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, because likely I wouldn't have, because I've been like, well, don't tell me what to do. Like, no, I don't want to do it that way, or no, I don't want to do that. And so anyway, I opened myself up and I took time after I left Nike and I went out into nature because that is where I feel most connected to everything. And I said, okay, show me what it is. Like, it was ultimate surrender. It was ultimate. You show me, you tell me, you being God, spirit, universe, whomever, tell me what to do. And on my way home from that surrender, I got a text from Apple that said, do you want to come work here? And my initial response was no. No, I don't. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do what I was just doing. Like, I'm trying to get away from that. But it's what allowed me to entrench myself in understanding who I am. So going to Apple really put me on this whole path of beginning to understand who I am and what I'm about and how I meant to be in the world and how I meant to show up in the world. And there was so many understandings, so many shifts that happened because of that, that then I ended up leaving to start my own business and do life the way that felt supportive for me. And now I can't imagine doing anything different. I can't imagine going back to a corporate job, because when I think about it, my body like shrivels up. It feels like it almost feels like an energetic death, because I know I'd be going back to something that actually isn't supportive for me. So what is it that I need to do in who I am and how I am to best support myself? So, okay. So there's a lot of things that I learned throughout this process, and these are just some of them. I'm still going through major transitions. I mean, one of the things when I first moved to Bend was I'm only going to be here for a few months. It's now been 4 years, and there's been a lot of acceptance, a lot of things that I've had to really go through in order to fully step into who I am and be okay with how my life is going for me, and not trying to compare it to everybody else around me. Because like I said, I wanted others to tell me what to do. I didn't want to decide. I wanted someone else to make those decisions for me. I wanted them to tell me what to do. And then I didn't trust myself. I didn't feel like I had any of the answers, that everybody around me had the answers, but I didn't have the answers for me. And so I really needed to go ask them what the answers were for me instead of asking me what the answers were for me, or learning about me, understanding me, so that I can hear the answers for myself. And so I also was asking or looking for validation from others, partly because I'm a projector and partly because I'm a human. And I wanted them to tell me, like, you're doing the right thing, like, you're doing it, good job. Because not only is that like strokes my ego and just like the projectorness of me, but also I didn't necessarily want to feel the full weight of responsibility for those decisions. So if something went wrong, then, oh, it wasn't all my fault because they said it was a good idea too. So I didn't have to take full personal responsibility for my life. I was letting others take that responsibility for my life as well. And so giving my power away to others instead of fully harnessing it for myself. And so it was a lot of having to break away from that, but it was because of learning myself that I was really able to do that. Because we all came here to make decisions for ourselves. We did not come here to let others make decisions for us. We came here to trust ourselves, to love ourselves, to allow ourselves to be the driving force for our own life, not other people. And so it's being able to get to that place where you're able to fully make those decisions for yourself, where you're able to tap into your inner guidance, your inner self, your higher self, and know absolutely what is the best thing for you in any given moment. And learning to trust yourself is the greatest gift that you can give yourself, and really, really building that trust muscle. So let's go through some of the things that I learned through these transitions, or some of the different steps that I take or will take or have taken. So this is where we're going to start to do some journaling a little bit, but this order is interchangeable. So this is not like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, like all of that. This is you start wherever it feels good. You can do one thing at a time. You can do multiple things at a time. There's not a right way or wrong way. That's something you'll learn with me. I will never tell you what to do. This, like, you get to have your life for you. I am happy to present options. I am happy to help you understand yourself in a deeper way. And you only will take the information that is going to resonate with you. Like, I know, I've been there. Like, it doesn't help you if I'm telling you to do something that your body's fully saying, no, that doesn't resonate. That's unhelpful. Let's do the things that do resonate, that do feel helpful, because they will lead you down the path that you're meant to be on. Always going to come back to what feels the most effortless, what feels the most ease-filled, and let that be the path, let that be the journey. So the first kind of thing that I did, first step, if you will, was to stop and breathe. And really start to look at what I was forcing and what I was pushing and what I was making happen in my life. What I wasn't allowing myself to say, okay, maybe now's not the time. Okay, this isn't working. So does this mean that maybe it's not for me? Does this mean that maybe there's something I need to unlock here? But allowing myself to stop for a second so that I can truly kind of start to feel into things and get out of maybe the super fast flow of things and start to just be like, okay, hold on. We all just need to stop and take a second and breathe and reset our nervous system. Because if our nervous system is on fight or flight all the time, it's going to be really difficult to truly tap into what is for you, because you're not allowing it to calm down. You're not allowing your whole system to calm down enough to be in a place where it can make the decision. It can see what is next. It can go to the next thing. So this is really where I started to meditate, and I started to journal, and I just started to get a little bit more out of my head. I don't know about any of you, but I am really good at getting in my head and being in there and making up all sorts of stories, having all sorts of conversations, and not all of them being super helpful and not all of them not being helpful, but having them happening all at once and not having a free space was not helping me in being able to see things clearly. And so starting to get all of those words that were happening in here out so I could create space, so I could see what was true, so I could understand what I was making up and holding true that actually isn't true, and what I was able to see from a different angle and be able to perceive in a different angle and be able to move forward with in maybe the same way or maybe in a different way. So really allowing myself to take time every day to stop and to calm my system, calm my nervous system, calm my body, calm my mind to the best of my ability, which wasn't easy for me. I have a very active mind. And so it was something that I had to really devote myself to say, I know this is going to be helpful. And how am I going to get to a place that's going to feel best? So I didn't start with meditating for 20 minutes. I started meditating for 2 minutes and was like, that was really hard. But I continued to do 2 minutes every day. And then I continued, and then I went up to 5. And then I went on from there, and it evolved from there. But knowing that it was something that was going to be helpful, and I was willing to commit myself to it for a month to see how it changed. Knowing that I can always go back to doing life the way that I was doing it before. Okay, so the second one, and I'm just using like first, second as like place markers, not actual like step 1, step 2, step 3. So now that although step 1 is really helpful for this one, but now that we've really calmed and we've stopped, we're breathing, we're starting to see things maybe a little more clearly. This is when I really wanted to assess the situation and assess my body. So I'm going to put some things in the chat for you guys to kind of look at and journal about. So, oh, I got to press send. Okay. So it was really about assessing. Okay. Right. So do I have pain in my body? Okay. Yes or no? Where is the pain? Right. Being as objective as possible. So understanding where there might be pain. Do you have a chronic illness? If you do, what is it? Because if I've learned anything, it's that when we are misaligned long enough energetically in our body, it will show up physically. So whether it shows up as chronic pain or a chronic illness, it likely and could be stemming from energetic misalignment for a long period of time. This is something where if you look at human design, which we can talk about what that is, but human design, there are these shapes in your chart, which are called centers, and all of the centers are associated with different aspects, organs of your body. And so if you're having, so for example, I will talk about myself. For example, and this can apply to all of you, that the sacral center, which is the second to the bottom, if you're looking at your chart, is where the ability for sustainable energy lives, right? So if you're a generator or manifesting generator, you will have it defined, meaning that you have consistent access to the ability to have sustainable energy. And if you are a manifestor, projector, or reflector, it will be undefined or white, meaning that you have inconsistent access to the ability to have sustainable energy. So generators and manifesting generators are the only 2 types, which make up 70% of the world, that have the ability to have sustainable energy. Little caveat is that you have the ability to have sustainable energy when you're doing the things you love. It's not something you have all the time just because. You only have it if you're spending your energy and your time on things that you love, things that are yeses. When you're spending your time on things that are no's, then it pulls the energy from you because it's trying to tell you to stop doing that. And so for those of us, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors who have it undefined, we do not have the ability to have sustainable energy. It's not something that we can fall upon. It's not something we can count on. And so though we live in a world, right, that I was saying at the beginning, that conditioning that really you have to do a lot, or you have to work hard in order to have the life you want, or in order to help others. And so, and really how our society is set up traditionally is to do a lot, right? Is to have a 9-to-5 job, or although I've never once had a 9-to-5 job, really, they've always been much longer. But right, like it's this kind of like you show up for this amount of time and you get paid for it and then you go home. That is unhelpful. It's unhelpful for all of us, especially if it's a no. But for those of us who do not have the ability to have sustainable energy, it's going to exhaust us. It's going to burn us out. And what will happen if you do that long enough from the organ perspective is that what is associated with the sacral center are our reproductive organs. And so for me, how that showed up was always irregular periods, never once until they put me on birth control did I have one, and ruptured ovarian cysts were the things that really had like happened for me. And so I can see and I can look at that because doctors were like, we don't know why, right? We don't know why. We assume that you're not having your period regularly because you're very skinny. And so therefore you're not going to have it. And every time I went to the doctor was like, are you anorexic? It's like, no, I am not. I like to eat food a lot. This is just what my body looks like. And then having the ruptured ovarian cysts, doctors also were like, we're not sure why they're happening or why you continue to have them. You don't have fibroids, whatever. And if you just look at the Western world in general, things like PCOS and endometriosis are so common. It is quote unquote normal for people to have that these days, and it's not normal. It's likely because so many of us, whether you have the ability to have sustainable energy or not, are making ourselves do things that are unhelpful, that we are unable to actually do in our life that is supportive. Does that make sense? Yeah. So starting to see how us being misaligned energetically can also show up in our body as pain or as some kind of illness. And if I liken this to animal communication, anytime an animal is showing an illness or an injury or a behavior that is not going away when in reality it likely should have, it's usually because they have some kind of message that they're trying to share, right, with us, because they're here to guide us in a lot of different ways. Most of them are. And so looking at things a little bit differently, understanding how it might be showing up for a different reason. And so the next one is, do you have emotional pain, right? What is it? Are you somebody who has shut down your emotions? Or are you someone who does understand your emotions and you realize I have a lot more of emotions that are not necessarily super supportive for myself, or they're not super light, they're a heavier energy. Like what is kind of happening within your body emotionally, and how is that feeling for you? And then when did these things begin, right? Do you know, is there a kind of an idea of, oh, this all kind of started when I was in this, when I was doing this, or when I had committed myself to this, or when I was, in the midst of this relationship, or whatever the case may be. When did you realize these things were happening, and have they gone away, or are they still occurring? And if they're still occurring, are you still in the midst of whatever the thing is that you were in when you realized it was happening to begin with? So like for me, I had chronic pain. My lower back, my hips, like I felt like my whole body was falling apart when I was at Nike. And I was like, I know this is associated with something to do here, but I don't know what. And I didn't know human design at the time. And I'd gone to a million different doctors I didn't even know existed. And all that they could really offer me, or all they would offer me, were muscle relaxers and sleeping pills. And I was like, can I have my copay back? Because this is unhelpful. This is not like, I'm not here for you to treat my symptoms. I'm here for you to tell me why this is happening to begin with, so I can understand and fix it for the future. And it was a chiropractor, acupuncture, naturopath, who said, your lower back pain is associated with stress. And this goes back to me saying, like, I wanted people to tell me like what to do. I told him he was wrong. He was 100% right. And I was like, no, it's not. And so again, just understanding, like, we might feel and like have this deep desire that we want people to tell us what to do, or that they're going to like fix things for us. But in reality, it likely isn't the case. And not that you'll have the same kind of reaction that I did, but that, like, he told me what it was. And I was like, no, it's not. You're wrong. And it still did. It went away after I left Nike. And so I had to go back and tell him, you were right. I apologize. And he laughed at me, and it was great. Okay. And so then the last one is, what is actually going on in your situation, right? So if you know when these things began, what is actually going on? Be as objective as possible. Don't get too wrapped up in the emotions of it, but like, what is it? Try to like be as like bullet point really as possible. So it's, I'm in this, like, I committed to this. This person is doing this. It makes me feel like this. I don't like this. You know, like, this is like, I can't leave. My belief is I can't leave because XYZ. What are all those things, just so that you can get them out in front of you, so you can see what is happening. And being as objective as possible is going to be helpful, because it's going to help us down the path as we go. Okay. And then the next one is getting clear on what it is that you do want, right? What are the life experiences that you want to have? What are the types of relationships that you want in your life? What are the dominant emotions that you want to have? So it's not focusing on what is currently happening. It's focusing on, what is it that you want to experience? What are the things that you want to bring more into your life, or into your life in general? What does it look like? Maybe it's about where you live, right? What is it that, like, where do you want to live? What does that feel like for you? What does it look like for you? It's not going straight into the, oh, well, I can't have that, so I don't want to make this list too outlandish. That's not what this is about. This is just about getting clear on what it is that you do want in your life. Experiences, everything. Traveling, right? Like, I want to go to this place. I want to have this. And it can also be things that you're not sure what it actually is yet, right? So it might be, I want to have retreats, right? I want to go on a retreat this year. I don't know exactly what kind of retreat. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I know I want to be surrounded by really supportive energy. And that feels like a retreat right now. These things are not set in stone, right? This is just a matter of getting you out of this is what's currently happening, and into the what is possible in the future. And then allowing the energy to kind of flow from there. And so now it's if you're not already aware of the things and people that cause more distress in your life than maybe are uplifting, it's bringing conscious awareness to that, to how you feel throughout the day, and note when you're not experiencing something that you want, right? Or that's on your list. And it might be helpful to write this down also. Who are the people that are pulling more energy from you than maybe not even giving you, right? Just like they're pulling energy from you. It's not always about reciprocation. It can also just be about the fact that when I'm around this person, I don't feel good. I feel depleted. I feel frustrated. I feel triggered. I feel whatever. And you don't even have to know why. You just have to understand how you feel, right? When I'm in this place, I feel like I'm being squeezed, right? I feel like my creativity is taken away from me. I feel like my power is gone. You don't have to know why. You don't have to know anything. You just have to know how you feel in a certain situation with a certain person at a certain place, so that you can start to bring awareness around you of, oh, isn't it interesting that every time I go to this place, I have this experience? Oh, okay, maybe there's something I can do about that. Or isn't it interesting that the majority of my life is surrounded by energies that are unhelpful, that are not supporting me, that aren't making me feel good? Okay, that's interesting. This gives you different places to start, right? It gives you understanding. It gives you awareness of, okay, this is working, this isn't. And if I have found any way that is helpful in creating change, it's by bringing awareness to my life. Because sometimes a change can feel really scary, and it can feel like you need courage and bravery in order to do it, because maybe the trust muscle isn't there yet. And it's through having this awareness and living in that awareness long enough that courage is there. That bravery is there, because at some point you all of a sudden are like, I can no longer accept this. I can no longer allow this to be true in my life anymore. And I have to make a change. And it can make that change feel a lot easier, right? Going back to the beginning of what I was saying of having somebody tell you what to do, and you're like, oh, well, that doesn't feel right. And that change then doesn't necessarily feel right because it felt forced or pushed or not your idea. And going with the things that do feel right, the things that do resonate, are the things that are going to make those more lasting changes in your life and help you take back your life for yourself. Because you're making the decision, you're owning your decisions, and you are doing it for you, not for somebody else. All right. And then the next one is fun, because it's making exit plans for all of those things that you have now listed out that are no longer serving you. So an exit plan can be something that happens immediately. It can also be something that happens in a week. It can be something that happens in 6 months or a year, or even 5 years, right? It doesn't have to be something where you're like, oh, this is no longer serving me. This person's no longer serving me, and so I have to get rid of them immediately. Not at all. It's a matter of, okay, what is it that I need to call in or acquire or procure or understand in order for me to then allow this thing to come off of my plate? It might be that I need to call in more financial resources to help me, right? Because maybe one of the things on my list is I hate cleaning, and I would really love somebody to come do it for me. It's like, okay, cool. So what is it that you need in order for that to come to reality? Okay, a cleaner costs this much per week or per every other week. So I need to an additional that much every month. Okay, now I'm really clear on that. Okay, universe, bring me that. Bring me that. Allow me to have that experience. Bring me that however it's meant to come, right? So it's looking at the exit plan would be me not cleaning anymore. And the time for that is however long it's going to take for you to call in those resources. But then a little bit sneakily is that, do you actually feel not necessarily worthy, but do you feel like you can have that? Like, can you actually receive the extra money, or can you actually receive the help of having somebody come in and clean your house every week or every other week? Do you have stories wrapped around that of, oh, well, if I have somebody come in, then that means, I'm this like really prissy person, or I'm entitled, or I'm da 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 da, because maybe you grew up with that messaging. And so now it's looking at, okay, cool, I have these exit plans. I know exactly what I need to call in. And on the other side of that, I actually don't feel worthy or of receiving these things in my life. Interesting. All right. This is where I have to do the work now of bolstering myself to the point of where somebody walked up to me and said, I will clean your house for free. I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I am happy to receive that. I feel fully like open to that. I would love it. I don't feel any weirdness around it. I feel super confident that I can have it. I feel like I have belief in it. right? I feel worthy of it, all of the different things. That's usually when our things will come in to help us clear things off our plate. So there's a lot of like different nuances to things that can be kind of frustrating sometimes. And you're like, but I want to have the thing. But why do I have this like inkling that says I can't have it? And like, okay, that's where I have to spend my time and energy, really unwrapping that so that I can really have what it is that I want in my life. Okay. Now, two more things. So the next one was really understanding who I was or who I am authentically. And there's lots of different tools for that. My favorite, as many people know, is human design. Because human design is not a quiz, it takes your birth date, time, and place and creates a chart for you that gives you a treasure trove of information about yourself. And because of that, I started to really understand why I felt the way I did in my life, why things weren't working the way I thought they were supposed to work, why, even though I followed all the rules that others had given me for how I was meant to live my life, why it wasn't working for me, why I was unhappy, why I was burnt out, why I was sick, why I was all these things. And through starting to live that, I started to have much more acceptance of myself and of those around me. Because for me, as a projector, the way I'm meant to move through the world is waiting for an invitation. I was terrible at that. I would tell people what to do all the time without them asking me. And that would cause a lot of strife in my life because of it. I mean, I had a friend that I lived with in Washington, D.C. And I remember her telling me one day, like, just because you're right doesn't mean like it's okay. Like, just like we need you to like stop. Like, it's not like we're like, it was just, I think back to that time and I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful that they're still my friend because I was not authentically aligned back then. I was very much, this is what you need to do. This is why you're wrong. But then also very defensive because that's very projector. And so when they would say, well, this is what you need to do, I would say, oh, no, it's not. Let me tell you how what you just told me is actually true for you. And I just did a lot of that. And so learning who I was, learning how I was meant to go through the world, learning what my association, what my relationship with emotions was massive for me because another thing that's associated, so organ wise, that's associated with the solar plexus, which is where your emotions live within human design. Excuse me, is the pancreas. And my pancreas almost exploded and doctors couldn't tell me why. I went to specialists, I had things done, and they're like, not only do we not understand why, we don't understand how your enzymes got so high and then also came down so quickly. And I learned this and I was like, oh, I can tell you why. Because I shut down my emotions because they were too much. I was told you're too much, you're too emotional, you're too sensitive, you're too this, you're too that. And I was like, okay, it's not safe to have emotions, so I'm just not going to have them. And I'm just going to be very logical. And that was actually one of the things when one of the first human design readings I had, and they told me I was very emotional, that I said, how dare you? I am not. I'm very logical. I'm very rational. I do not make decisions based off emotions. I make them off my mind. And then I learned more about myself and I was like, you're so right. Like, isn't that cute? But had somebody been like, well, no, you need to do this and you have to focus on this, I wouldn't have accepted it so quickly. I would have said, this is so interesting. Oh, that I'm like having this reaction. And now I lost my train of thought again. Anyway, again, learning who I am has been one of the best things that has happened in my life. Not one of the easiest, but one of the best things that has happened in my life because now I not only have acceptance and love and cherish myself, but also those around me. So even not knowing their human design, I can show up and be like, I understand you and I know we're not the same. and I can support you in how you're meant to be supported without feeling like I need to be something else. I need to be someone else. I'm now able to show up in a relationship much more me and not feeling like I need to be something else. I need to do something. I need to give more. Okay. I didn't think this would take so long, so I apologize for not necessarily giving you guys a lot of time to write, but I will send out the questions too so that you can have more time to do that. All right. And then the last thing was really connecting to myself and developing that relationship with my intuition. So getting to know how to recognize my intuition, how my intuition speaks to me, how my intuitive nudges like show up, and then also cultivating that trust and that belief that they will always be there and that they will always help me along the path, that they're not there to distract, that they're not there to do something bad, that they are there actually to help me along the path. So it's getting in touch with, do you know what your intuition is? Do you know how your intuition speaks to you? Do you know how it's nudging you and telling you what to do? Is it the same all the time, or is it something different? Do you have a trust muscle for it? Do you listen to it, or do you question it? Do you need to have the logical, rationale mind to tell you, yes, you can follow this because XYZ, or can you follow it without having that? Like, what is your relationship to that? Because now I follow my intuition without second guessing it at all. I mean, I adopted a horse, not necessarily on my intuition, kind of on my intuition, but also connecting to myself, connecting to, really, it was Gaia who said, this is a missing piece for you. He's meant to be a part of your herd. You need to adopt him. And I said, I'm sorry, what? Like, I don't know that I can. I don't have a place where my horses are like, home with me. So it's not just like easy for me to be like, yes, of course. I don't know if my friend will say yes for me having another horse, especially another young, wild Mustang horse, all these different things. And I said, okay, like if it's meant to be, it will be. And I trust that you will provide the resources for this. And everything fell into place. He was almost adopted by somebody else, but wasn't. And my friend said yes, which I still think she's crazy for. But it, again, just like shows you that the things that are meant to happen on your path will happen if you give them space for them to come to the surface. I had a coach once tell me, or told a lot of people, that the dream, the universe will provide the resources for the dream. So if your dream is to travel to Peru, because that's the place that Maddie and I are likely going to, that you wouldn't say necessarily in the dream, like, oh, like I need this much money, or I need these clothes, or I need this suitcase in order for me to get there. The dream is to go. And so can you trust that the resources, the things, the people, everything that you're needing for that will come with it, right? If you want a car, a dream car, you're not also thinking about necessarily like, I need to manifest the insurance and the gas and all the like different things for the car. Or for me, the horse was the dream, and it wasn't necessarily thinking about boarding or hay or anything like that. And so can you trust that if the dream is there and it's for you and it's coming to fruition, that the resources will come with it? It's a lot of trusting the unknown, which can be really scary, which is also why, as I was going through this process for myself, I invested in many, many, many coaches to help me, which some of them were super helpful. A lot of them were not helpful, but that was because I was saying yes to something that actually wasn't a true yes for me. It was based off of desperation, or it was based off of this like, oh, I think you can fix me. It was based off of these different ideas, which I still believe are true, that I needed to go through those experiences to truly understand me, understand what works and what doesn't work, and go through these different experiences that really triggered me and had lots of different feelings, so that I could go through all of those different experiences within my own body and really fine tune what works for me and what doesn't, and be able to stand true in that and be really okay with not going forward in something that like wasn't for me, even though everybody said I needed to or I should, and being okay, being like, well, that's cute that you think that, but I'm not going to do it. Like, it doesn't work for me. And whether I'm right or wrong, we'll find out. And I would rather find out I was wrong than to find out that you were wrong, but I disobeyed myself essentially to follow you. Because that will hurt me more than to understand, oh, I said yes to something, but I said yes to it because of desperation, because of this, because of that. Does that make sense? Okay. So just quickly before we get into questions, is that I have created a container that is really for anybody who is going through a transition, which, like I said, we're all going through transitions, all sorts of different kinds, that will really help you understand yourself. Again, I am not here to tell you what to do. And that may be something that you're like, well, I'm out. And I totally get it, because I was somebody who wanted somebody to tell me what to do. And I really learned that that is unhelpful. And that has brought me brought me down my path a longer way, a more scenic route than I really needed to go. And at the same time, I needed to go it in order to learn it. And so it's really going to be about utilizing human design is a really big part of it, to help you understand you, to help you understand how you're meant to live in the world, how you're meant to move through the world, how you're meant to make decisions, and to support you in that, support you in seeing how it's playing out in your life. It's one of my favorite things to do with human design. Is doing readings is fine, but the thing that really is fun is talking to somebody and being like, oh, isn't that interesting that you're saying that, and this is in your chart? Or isn't it interesting that you said you didn't want to do this and now you feel really angry about it? Like, okay, cool. Like, it's not something to necessarily get upset about. Now we understand that anger is part of the way that your body or yourself shows you that you're on the wrong path. So what can we do to correct and come back to the path, right? Like, there's never something that's going to be wrong, because it's all here to teach us. It's all here to help us out on this human experience that we're here to, again, make decisions for ourselves. All right. So it's 12 weeks. There's 12 weekly calls. There's 2 extra calls. So one will likely be with a guest. I'm not sure who yet, because it'll kind of be dependent on the group that we have together of who I end up bringing in. But they've been really fun. We've done it in the Explore Animal Communication container, and we've had some pretty fun people come in and talk to us. And so it'll likely be another person that I just don't know yet who it's going to be, and what, and what the topic's going to be. And then there's a one-on-one call that will take place really the second half of the container, because I really want to set a really good foundation before we dive deeper into anything in your chart. So we're not going over things that we're going to really go over in the container. And it's also, there's an optional Voxer if you want to have more day-to-day kind of support. Voxer is an audio and text app, and you can reach out at any time and ask questions, or get support or advice or guidance or celebrate or anything like that. And that's always really fun. And then there's a couple of other little bonuses if that is something that feels good. And so the investment is 1 payment of $1,155, 3 payments of $385, or 4 payments of $294. And that's without Voxer. I tried to make it as affordable as possible, because this is something that would have really helped me back in the day. And so with Voxer, if you're wanting to have more of that day-to-day support, which again is, if you're somebody like me who wants to get support all the time, this is such a great way of going about it. And it's, in my experience and lots of different coaches and whatnot, it's very affordable. So Voxer for the 12 weeks is one payment of $1,050 or $350 per month, or you can add it at any time. So you could add it for a month or 2 months, and it would be $397 a month. So that is that. If you're interested in joining us, that would be so great. We're needing really 1 to 3 more people to get started. And the calls will likely take place around 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. I don't know what day yet, just based off of the people who have committed already, that time zones and whatnot, that they'll likely take place around then. But the day and everything else that we have calls will be selected once we have a group together. All right. So I know I have one question from Margaret already. We can start there, or do you want to add anything to your question, Margaret? No, that's it? Okay, cool. Okay, so the question is, I want to transition from my nanny career into a healing business. I feel that Tika, her cat, is connected to working with me, manifesting my blueprint, etc. I feel this is where I need to go. Any thoughts? Okay, so you're a manifesting generator, stake roll 4-1. Okay, so you're a manifesting generator, right? So manifesting generators, first of all, 100% believe or in agreement about Tika being a part of this. She is definitely a guiding force and definitely part of the process. And as a manifesting generator, you are multi-passionate, right? So there's multiple things that likely you're going to want to pour your energy into. So my question or my initial kind of guidance, without going into like all the different aspects of it, would be, can you do both? Right? If the healing business is a yes, it's going to give you energy to do the thing. So can you do both until you're able to fully go over to the healing business and feel safe in that? Or can you reduce on the nanny side and still do both, but give yourself more time and space on the healing side? I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, the nannying is a no. Yeah, it's a no. Okay. The nannying does not give you energy. Oh, my puppy. No. You can unmute if you want to.
Yeah, not anymore. Can you hear me, Emma?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Not anymore. It did. And I made it. I years ago, I thought I want to work with children and I want to work in healing. What should I do? I chose children. Now it's not fulfilling me anymore. Now it feels like drudgery.
Yeah.
And now I'm being drawn to the other thing that I was interested in.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So if you don't feel like you're in a place right now where it feels okay to make that big leap and to jump off the cliff and just do it, then because you have the ability to have sustainable energy from the healing business side, can you give yourself that space to do both? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it feels like that's going to have to happen. I'm going to need one to support the other until I can really go, okay, this will, pay my bills.
Yeah. And it gives the healing business less pressure to have to perform if you know you can kind of count on something, right? As much as we can count on things in this life, but that you can kind of count on something coming through while you're really proving to yourself that the healing business can be a thing, right? The healing business can support you. The healing business can be your sole focus. When I first started doing animal communication, because I had never envisioned or planned to do human design, I was still at Apple when I did it. And my coach at the time had told me, you need to prove to yourself that people will value and pay for this. So you need to offer some kind of like service or services, like offerings for some kind of money. It doesn't have to be a lot. And you can, and this is everything I'm saying, she told me, you can donate all of it, but that you need to show yourself that people will pay for it.
Yes.
And so if you are at that point where you're like, I know I need to do this. I know I'm supposed to do this. I can feel it in my bones. If you're at the point where you're like, I don't know that I can support myself in it, then can you get yourself to offer a certain amount of sessions for some kind of money to show yourself people will pay for it? And potentially to also show yourself how you best want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing with you and Maddie both have a 1 in your profile. And so you're both very prone to like, I need to know all the information before I can do it.
Yes.
Right. It's very much a 1.
Which
Like,
Tika argues with.
yeah, very much a 1 of like, I need to know it back and forward. Like, I need to know it.
Yes.
And so that can stop you from doing it. And so
Yes.
if that's stopping you, I also want to encourage you to continue and do it anyway. Because you
Okay.
can get into this cycle, and the profile, right, is your personality. You're not meant to only be on one side of it. And it can be easy to be imbalanced on it, because we can be like, especially when you have something that's like the one that's very introspective, it goes into this learning mode, and you guys kind of go into like a little bit of a hermit mode when you do that, that you can kind of stay there if you don't
Yeah.
pull yourself back out. If you don't kind of
Yeah.
be like, okay, I need to challenge myself to now go use this, knowing I can always learn more. Just because I'm doing it doesn't mean I have to stop learning. It just means I am putting into practice what I've learned already, knowing that it'll likely point me in the direction that I need to go next to learn more. Right?
Okay.
Because yeah, it can be really easy to just get stuck in the, well, I can't do it yet because I don't know enough yet. I haven't taken this class, or I don't have this certificate, or I need to do
Yes.
this, or I need to do that.
Yes.
And before I can go do it on somebody,
Yes.
it's like, oh, okay. I mean, let's talk about it. And let me challenge you a little bit in you going out and doing it and seeing how it goes. Because also, have you done any sessions on people at all before?
No, this is just something I know that I can do, but I have
Yeah.
no idea what.
Amazing.
I just,
Okay. So
it's,
first step would
it's,
be to
go
do it.
ahead.
You
Okay.
just need to practice.
Okay.
And if this helps you, because I had a different coach tell me this when I learned human design, and I was like, I don't know how I want to do sessions, because the way that I had sessions before didn't resonate. The session was very much like a story about me. And I would walk away being like, that was unhelpful. Like, yes, you told me a story about me and everything you said resonated, but I don't know what to do with it. Like, you didn't present it in a way that's helpful for me to now apply it to my life. Like, a
Yes,
story
you
is cute,
actually,
but it's unhelpful, right? Like,
yeah.
this isn't going to work for me. So I was like, I don't know how to do a session, because all I've ever seen is unhelpful and I can't think outside of that. And I had a coach tell me, okay, well, you need to do a set, like you need to practice, right? So you need to just like have people that you can practice on, like do sessions with. And I was so stressed out about it. And I was in a coaching group, and it was people from from my group that I was doing free sessions on. And I was stressing out about it because I was like, oh my gosh, what if I don't tell them anything? What if it's super unhelpful? What if I can't even give them like a 30-minute thing? And I signed them up and whatever. And I was like, okay, 30 to 45 minutes. And my coach was like, they're not paying anything for it. They're not expecting anything. Like, you are going to give them, like, even if you don't give them anything, they're still like, the understanding of them signing up for this is that they may or may not get something out of it, because you are practicing. You haven't done this before. They're not expecting some kind of professional thing. They're showing up to help you, knowing that it can go any other way. I was like, okay, cool. And like that really helped me a little bit. And then I got on the call, and 30 minutes is really cute that I thought that. The calls ended up becoming 2 1-hour sessions. And the first person, well, we ended up like chatting about other things for like an hour, but I was on the call with her for 3 hours. 2 of them was me talking about human design. And
See,
so,
that's, yeah, go
but
ahead. Yeah, people are using my energy. Like I seem to be like the psychologist of everybody around me.
yeah,
It seems to be just using my energy. And I'm going, I don't even get paid for this. And I don't even have like a format that's like human design. It's just, I don't know.
let me
Uh,
look at your chart for a second.
like, like I seem to have understanding of a, a, a helpful way that can move them forward.
Yeah,
And I'm getting drained everywhere, but I'm getting paid for it, and I still have a nanny job.
yeah,
And so, but I'm telling you, people are calling me left or right, and I'm just thinking I have to turn this into a business now. But I feel like I don't have credentials, like you're saying. I need to have
yeah.
some kind of thing that says I'm a
That's
human
that
design
one.
person. Yeah.
That's that one.
But
That pesky one. I mean, it's beautiful and it's amazing and it gives you so much, and it can hold you back too.
yeah. Yeah, so I keep waiting for the right format, but I've been kind of waiting for the right format now for a couple of years. And I keep thinking, I just need to choose something that gives me a title that so people stop draining all my like friends, acquaintances, people just meet me. And next thing you know,
Yeah.
I'm on a conversation with them for 2 hours, helping them
Oh,
figure out their life. But I'm drained. I'm drained because, I still have a job that pays my bills
right.
that I have to do. So there's that. And oh, one other thing I want to throw in, but I want to listen to everything you say is so then I go and I get a checkup. So now the health stuff's coming in.
Hmm.
My liver numbers are not right. And my blood pressure is too low
Yeah.
and my heart rate is too low. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And because I was saying, I'm just feeling drained all the time.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of bad falls in the last 3 months. And my doctor's like, well, my goodness, with this kind of blood pressure and heart rate, of course you're, but
Yeah.
anyways, so go ahead. That's what I
Yeah.
have to offer.
Well, I mean, without going through like everything, there's there's obviously some energetic misalignment that's been happening for a while that's showing up in your body. I love when a doctor's like, I don't know why, because that's almost 100% an indicator of like, oh, because it's energetic, right? It's because I am not being true to who I am, and I've been doing it for long enough that it's now showing up in my body as another reminder, as another clue, as another message to say, it's time to do things differently. You can't continue down this path. Actually, you can, and it's only going to become more cumbersome and likely unhealthy. And so, what is it that your body is trying to tell you to do in order to become and come back to alignment? Because that's what's going to help. Yes, supplements and different things will help. However, it's not going to necessarily fix the root cause. And I don't love the word fix, but it's not necessarily going to address the root cause if the root cause is your life, right? And
Mhm.
the other side of that is boundaries. That's something you're going to have to really learn and get really good at putting into place so that you are saying, this is what I'm willing to give and no more. If you want more, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. Or you just don't get more. This is all you get. And so this like stepping into you is going to help that. That's how I used to be terrible at boundaries. And I had somebody tell me on like a offhanded comment one time, like how good I was at setting boundaries. And I was taken aback because I was like, what? Really? Am I? But like I am, because I know what my limitations are. I'm not great at boundaries. There's a lot of things that I still like am working on. And in a lot of ways, like I am not going to necessarily sign myself up for something that I know is going to be unhelpful. And that goes with doing a lot of things. And she was a horse person, and she's also a generator, and she expects everyone else to be a generator. And so it was really fun when she said that to me, because I'm like, I guess I am really good at being like, no, I'm not going to keep up with you because I can't. And I will just become bitter if I do. And I don't want that experience. And so we're not going to do that. So did that kind of help you a little bit?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I'm excited for you. And for all of those that you will help, because the next step is really understanding, do you like doing it in person or at distance? Like how I communicate with animals, essentially. Maddie, did you have any? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I'm trying to figure that out as well too.
It's all
I'm
through
thinking
practice.
more distance. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, trying to figure that out too.
Yeah. Practice and see which one you like better. Or both,
Gotcha.
right? You don't have to pick one if
Yeah.
both feel good.
Gotcha.
You get to decide, right? This whole thing is you get to decide. So fun. I love it. Even though I hated it at the beginning, but I love it now. Maddie, do you have any questions?
Okay. Taking a chance on unmuting with barking dogs.
Oh.
This was awesome. This like reaffirmed, I think I already knew that the container was a yes, but it like reaffirmed that the timing and everything is really, really good. Definitely in a transition, have more and more the feeling that like, what's the next step is something like I don't know yet. It's not like, oh, you're going to be a librarian. Like there's a job that exists that I don't know. It's like something the next thing is going to be something that I just haven't thought of yet, or like don't know how to put into practice a little bit. So just trying to like take the time of being in between things to like really make purposeful decisions about what is to come.
So cool.
So feels like a very good time for this. And I was like, what are you gonna do next after animal? Like, what are you gonna? And it was like you wrote something that was like aimed at me, but I feel like it probably aims at most people on this journey. But I'm excited.
Oh, me too. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so fun. And yeah, it's all the things that I wanted or that helped me.
Cool.
Actually, I didn't want them at the time, right? I have already made that very clear. I didn't want to make decisions for myself. However, that's what I needed in order to have the life I'm meant to have and to continue to do so, and to do it from a place that doesn't feel ashamed or shame for doing it a different way, or for saying no to somebody who is quote unquote successful and saying to do it in a different way. And really trusting, that's been such a big thing for me, really trusting that my path, my divine timing is what's perfect for me, right? And that it's not going to be the same for everybody else. And what is the acceptance that needs to happen in order to be able to be present on my own path in my own timing, and not wishing for something different, not pushing for something different, but being able to be here right now and say, this is enough. And I'm excited for more, whatever more is, right? And sometimes we have an idea of what that is, or we have a knowing of what that is, and yet it hasn't come through yet. Or we don't know what that is, right? For you, Maddie, we don't know what it is. And yet there can still be this excitement of when it does come through, like almost that not anxiousness, but like that excitement of like Christmas coming, of like this like really exciting thing that we know is coming. And yet, like, how can I better or best prepare myself to receive the thing? And like, then cuddle up with it whenever it does come. I'm excited.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Thank
Do
you.
either of you have any other questions? I know we've gone way over, so apologies on time. This is a real occurrence for me.
Emma, just one thing. section is liver covered under?
So liver will be on the identity center, which is the diamond in the middle of the chart.
Okay.
And the health things is like a section that we cover in the Emerging Authentically You container. Going to be a whole call just on the centers and the organs, and
Wow.
I might have Leah come in again. I'm not sure. She's my health and wellness person who does so many things and knows so much and does all the research for me and gets to come in and give all the information for everybody. So yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you both for being here live. Thank you for everyone.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you,
in the
Margaret.
replay. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. And I will talk to you all soon.
Thank you, Emma.
All right. Bye.
See ya. Bye.